Welcome to Health Hackers. This video is part 1 of my experience with Zoe, a nutrition program involving home test kits, an app and some scientific muffins. All designed to help you understand how your individual body responds to what you eat. Think of it as personalized nutrition, looking at your gut health, blood sugar and blood fat responses. So that, according to Zoe, you can learn how to eat for your body and take back control of your health and weight. To explain the research that Zoe is based on, this video includes insights from one of the scientists behind it and previous Health Hackers guest, Professor Tim Spector.
We've all heard the advice to eat less and move more, but this one-size-fits-all dogma just doesn't work.
In the name of transparency, I want to tell you now that I'm undergoing the Zoe program for free so that I can review it. But as always, my reviews represent good faith and honest opinion. Also, anything you hear on Health Hackers should not be considered personal or medical advice. So, how could Zoe show you how to eat for your body? Here's what arrived in the mail. First up, we have a continuous glucose monitor, a sensor that I'll wear on my arm to track changes in my blood glucose levels. Next, a blood and gut kit. I'll be providing finger-prick blood samples so that Zoe scientists can see what happens to the levels of fat in my blood after eating. The gut test involves sending away a sample of my poop to find out which good bugs and bad bugs are living in my microbiome. And here are those muffins I told you about. Looks like I'll start eating those on day 3. It's recommended I pop them in the freezer to keep fresh. And finally, some packages to return my blood sugar sensor and gut health test sample. So, Tim, how is Zoe different to the other lifestyle brands selling poop tests for personalized nutrition?
It's different in a number of ways because we're taking a holistic approach to the problem and we're basing it on actual data that we've collected ourselves rather than just collecting it from other research studies over the last 10 years which don't relate to an individual. Most of the other studies rely on average data from studies in the past linking, say, foods and some microbe and hope that they can tie it up. Whereas the Zoe approach is very much based on looking at thousands of people, their individual responses to food based on their individual unique microbes. And so that's the first difference, plus the fact that we're using really high-depth sequencing, what's called metagenomes, whereas most of the other studies are using just one gene rather than all of the genes in all the microbes. Then we're adding the glucose monitor to that, we're adding the testing your fat levels to that, and your inflammation levels, and putting it all into a really cool algorithm.
That data that Tim said Zoe is based on includes PREDICT, a series of nutrition research conducted with scientists in the US and the UK.
PREDICT studies now have over 3,000 people in them. The PREDICT-1 study is the one we've published on, and that was basically just over 1,000 individuals, including about 600 twins.
One of the first things I've noticed about Zoe is that it could feel as though there's a lot to get your head around. There are specific instructions to follow, but the app is meant to be my guide, starting from the moment I scanned the barcode on the box.
Hi, welcome to Zoe.
The app says the actual period where I'll be testing at home will last a week.
The whole point is the more citizens contribute their data, their own unique reactions to food, the better the databases we can build, and more precisely we can give people predictions about their foods, and eventually really complicated combinations of foods.
My task on day 1 is to attach the blood glucose sensor to my upper arm before midday, and after 24 hours the sensor should begin automatically reading my blood sugar levels every 15 minutes. I'm just going to follow the instructions on the app. There's a video there too.
I'm going to explain the best way to do it, and then I'll apply it myself to show you. The first thing you'll want to do is take this sterile wipe, and you'll wipe the back of your arm.
Okay, I can't find my alcohol wipe. So, where were we?
Then you have your sensor applicator and your sensor pack. Your sensor is in here. And then line up the two dark lines together. In one motion, press down firmly, and then take it out, and your sensor will be in here.
There's a sharp point in there. The app does say you can get someone to help you do this. Okay, here we go. That does not hurt. Now, about the continuous glucose monitoring, I've worn a couple of these in the past. I found the results fascinating. What surprises did you discover in your large-scale study about variations in individual glucose responses to foods? And what surprises did you find when wearing your own one?
I was a guinea pig even before we started the PREDICT studies. And so I had plenty of surprises. And it, you know, first thing you put it on, it's a really cool thing. You can now get a reader or look at it on your phone now to give you readouts in real time about what's happening when you eat food. And I think that for many people is a revelation. For the first time, they realize there is a different reaction to food, and that you can actually, with modern technology, see what's going on inside your own body. So that is so cool. And the second thing that hits you is it's a bit of a shock, because suddenly you're getting all these sugar spikes, which you don't really want. And when you think you're healthy, and you think, oh, well, that bit of fruit, that can't do me much harm, and it's spiking all over the place. Or your favorite breakfast, like for me, I thought I was eating a healthy breakfast, was giving me all kinds of spikes with my healthy muesli or granola, and realizing my average lunch in the hospital was of a sandwich with tuna was totally bad for me. I, at the same time, tested my wife, and she was eating the same foods and got completely different results. So those things are just kind of mind-blowing, and they really change your attitude to food. But in the study, you know, these are all normal people, not people with major diseases. We saw an 8-fold difference in the blood responses to the muffins in their blood sugars. And even identical twins were different. And that was a bit of a shock, because they're genetic clones. They really shouldn't be very different. And we also saw some interesting stuff with 1 in 4 people have a sugar dip. And you can't really pick this up yourself. Most people can't detect it. But some people, when they ate the muffin, their blood sugar went below the baseline. And those people were hungrier 3 hours later, ate more, and throughout the next 24 hours actually consumed more food. So for those people, a calorie is not a calorie. If you can pick up this kind of stuff, which we can with this amazing Zoe tool, then everyone can start working out what foods best suit their own metabolism.
My task on day 2 is the gut health test. The instructions say I need to put a scoop of poop in this tube, then mail it back to the lab in a prepaid return box. And here is a close-up look at my poop sample. What do we mean when we talk about the microbiome? Why does it matter for our health now and in the future?
It's really essential for all of us to maximize the potential of our microbes, keep them happy. If they're healthy, then we're healthy. They're key for our immune system, fighting off COVID, for keeping our metabolism really good. They will regulate our hunger and digest our food, give us our vitamins. So we really ignore them at our peril. And that's why they should be an essential part of any nutritional advice nowadays.
So talk to me about your study findings in identifying certain good bugs and bad bugs.
So in our latest paper, which we published in January in Nature Medicine, we produced probably the largest study of its kind, looking at really heavily sequenced individuals in the PREDICT study with this really detailed look at the microbes. where we could look at individual species, strains, and even some parasites, and compared that to the composition of the microbes with the health outcomes. So whether those microbes were associated with being overweight or having diabetes or heart disease or having blood tests that were bad. And that's been done before. But what hasn't been done before was that we managed to link that to specific foods they were eating. So we've linked the foods, the microbes, and the health outcomes together, and we identified 15 good bugs and 15 bad bugs that nearly everybody has in multiple populations around the world that we can use as a sort of barometer of what's going on. And we've started to be able to give people advice about how to build up the good guys and squash the bad guys. That is really the most exciting bit of evidence we've had for ages to say that manipulating our microbes through our diet is something that's doable.
So by eating the Zoe way, based on my unique responses to foods, I should be able to build up the good bugs in my microbiome.
You should be able to build up the good guys and suppress the bad guys, but also increase the general diversity and number of species in your bugs. So nearly all the advice we give, whether it's to help your sugars or your fats, also takes into consideration your gut microbes, because I think up to now everyone's focused on one thing or the other, but hasn't put it all together, which is what you need if you're going to have a sustainable nutrition plan for years rather than just a few weeks. You can't just, because most diets are very minimalist and restrictive, and ultimately they cause problems for your gut microbes.
So diversity is key. I know you said that to me before.
Yeah, one of my mantras is, and I'm quite boring about going on about diversity, but eating a diversity of plants is the best way to ensure a diversity of microbes. And the more microbes you've got, the more chemicals they can produce to help you. And that really is, you just want to keep a bigger variety of your personal zoo or your personal garden as you can. So you've got to feed them right. And that means diversity. Don't just eat the same bit of kale every day.
So here we are on day 3 now, and I have to eat Zoe Muffins for breakfast and for lunch. Fun tidbit for you, I don't think I've eaten a muffin since the 1990s. It was after 2 practitioners linked my teenage anxiety attacks to roller coaster blood sugar levels from eating too much sweet stuff. So my gut bugs are going to be in for a surprise. And by the way, the instructions say I need to eat all of them and within 15 minutes. God, I'd forgotten the taste of this kind of sugar, but I don't mind it. I'm starting to find them a bit sickly sweet now. It's all in the name of science, folks. I'm gonna keep powering through. I asked my husband yesterday, how do you eat muffins? Do you use a knife, a fork, a spoon, just fingers? How do you eat your muffins? I think I managed that just inside 15 minutes. Maybe on the cusp. Tell me why you opted for muffins.
Yes, our famous muffins were created by Dr. Sarah Berry, who's a colleague of mine, who's basically been using them for the last 20 years at King's College. And they are the ideal thing for nutrition because you can change the amount of fats in them, you can change the amount of carbs in them very precisely. And nearly everyone manages to eat them, and you don't have to cook it. You just put 30 seconds in a microwave if you want to heat it up. It's very simple and versatile. So that way we can give people different muffins, and they will look the same, but they contain different amounts of fats and sugars, and we can study the unique way our bodies respond to, the identical type food.
After eating my day 3 breakfast muffins this morning, I then had to fast for 4 hours before eating the lunch muffins. Then I had to fast for a couple of hours. Have a look at these 2 peaks on my blood sugar graph after eating those 2 meals. I've also taken my blood sample using the finger prick test kit. I'd say today has been the busiest in terms of following instructions. And now I'm about to go and send off my blood sample. The blood fat level test. What does this marker tell you about my unique responses?
We're measuring one of the fats, which you can measure easily with a pinprick. It's called triglycerides. And that basically tells you how quickly you're able to get fat out of your system. Because what we see is 6 hours after a meal, if you're super healthy, you'll have cleared a lot of that fat and it will be gone. It'll be distributed to your liver, recycled in your body. Whereas if you're not particularly good at dealing with fat, it hangs around and causes inflammation in your blood vessels and can start to cause problems both in your heart or in your way you lay down other fats. So it's a pretty good indicator of how you're responding to fat, how much fat we would recommend you have in your diet, and whether you should be really focusing on the good fats rather than the bad fats.
Day 4. There were muffins for breakfast again, then a 3-hour fast, but no blood test today. My focus now turns to weighing and measuring what I eat, taking pictures of it and logging it all in the app. It's also an opportunity for me to keep an eye on my blood sugar levels and experiment with different foods. This is all about building even more information that can help contribute to personalised food scores that I should get after my initial results.
Within 6 weeks, you get your first results of how your blood sugars responded to a standard meal. So everybody, thousands of people are all getting identical meals and seeing how they respond. And so far, everyone's unique. And you probably will be too. So you'll get a sugar score, you'll get a fat score, you'll get a microbiome score, comparing yourselves to other people. We'll use those scores to adjust all the foods that you're likely to encounter and give you a personal score that tells you which foods it's fine to eat all the time and which you should have just occasionally because they have a problem either for your microbes, your fat, or your sugar. It doesn't really give you a prescriptive list of things to eat. It gives you a wide range. And so the idea is you just can pick from a whole list of them. So you're not forced to eat anything that you hate or you're allergic to, or for religious or cultural reasons you don't want to do.
And then do you have to keep taking Zoe tests to check that your gut microbiome is now looking good?
You may feel better and you may your gut health may improve, so you have a clue. But I think taking a test every 6 or 12 months will keep people on the right path, because your microbes do change over time. They don't stay still. They even change in winter and summer. And so I think going forward, this will be normal for most people to do, to have a regular microbiome checkup, just like you have your blood pressure checked.
What makes you so confident that the eating list and recommendations I'll get from Zoe really are best for my unique body?
Well, based on two facts really. One is the having published in Nature these algorithms, we know that mathematically it's likely to be true, that based on the tests that you'll do as part of the Zoe kit with the muffins and recording your meals, etc., we have around an 80% predictive ability to know how you're going to respond to other foods. So it's not 100%, but 80% is good enough that we can reduce your sugar peaks, reduce your fat peaks, and help your gut microbes. And by doing that, we know from other studies that helps with energy levels and health issues and losing weight. And the first people have been in the study for 3 months. So far, we are seeing average weight loss in these people who are following the diets. It's not proof because it's observational, but we are seeing people losing several pounds, not by changing their calories, not by restricting their foods, just by changing their food choices. So I think as we get more and more data, we'll be more and more confident about this, and it's just going to get better. So we hope to improve from that 80% to maybe 90% and above.
How should I be feeling in 6 months' time? How will I know if it's worked for me?
Well, everyone's going to be different because they'll start from a different base, right? So in a way, the worse your diet is beforehand, the more you'll notice it. But that's generally true of all these lifestyle changes. But what we're hoping people will notice, first of all, is a change in your transit time of your bowel. If you are constipated, you'll be going to the toilet more regularly. You should have less bloating feelings, and gut health generally should improve. If you're someone who's suffering from these sugar peaks, you should find your energy levels better, and you don't get hungry at 11:30 in the morning, wanting an early lunch. So you should start to notice that the food is more tapered to your own particular circadian rhythm and metabolism. So by, in a way, evening out some of these peaks, helping your microbes, you should generally have more energy. And if you are overweight, lose weight. And if you're not, then you should, perhaps just feel your metabolism is more an even keel.
Everything that needed to be mailed back to Zoe has now been sent. Remember, this video is just part 1 of my Zoe review, but it is time to round up my likes and dislikes about the experience so far. We'll begin with the dislikes. Firstly, the muffins. They tasted fine. I just didn't love having to eat 7 of them over a couple of days, especially when I saw the blood sugar response to one of the muffin meals. But I understand they are made to test how my biology responds to fat and sugar. Secondly, all that weighing and measuring of everything I ate when I exercised, entering it all into the app. It takes time and attention. It's only for a few days though, and I actually ended up choosing to keep on logging my meals while wearing the blood sugar sensor for longer, until it ran out after 14 days. Thirdly, getting it right. There are a lot of instructions with the tests, with the muffins, and a warning that order and timing are crucial, otherwise you might not get accurate results. That's why I deliberately did not schedule the initial testing period during a busy or stressful week. My final dislike. Allergy warning. It's a bugbear for people like me who have a food allergy. Mine is to nuts. When something you want to eat, like a Zoe Muffin, says it is produced in a facility that also handles milk, eggs, fish, shellfish, tree nuts, wheat, peanuts, and soy. Ultimately, if you have an allergy, only you and/or your doctor can evaluate your decision making. I'm just flagging the information for you. And now for my likes. Firstly, scientific backing. The Zoe program is built on data from what it calls the biggest ever nutritional studies of their kind, a collaboration with scientists from Massachusetts General Hospital, Stanford, Harvard, and King's College London. Plus, my results and your results get added to the Zoe data. Secondly, easy to use app, step-by-step instructions, reminders, helpful videos, extra info you can read up on. The layout is clear, the customer service was good, and it's simple to log your food and exercise. Thirdly, research funding. Zoe says it pays for its own research and is not funded by large food companies or industry bodies, so it would be hard to accuse Zoe of having a bias towards promoting any particular foods or food products in its recommendations. Finally, it feels worthwhile. Tim explained that Zoe has around an 80% predictive ability to know how your body's going to respond to other foods. It's not 100%, but the idea that my results go towards the creation of personalized food recommendations that could improve my gut health and lower dietary inflammation to some degree just seems like a worthwhile opportunity to me. And the website says 86% of Zoe Pilot users saw results including increased energy, a reduction in hunger between meals, weight loss, and improved bowel movements. Of course, it comes at a cost. Which brings me on to my final point. This is neither a like or a dislike. I just want to tell you how much it costs. According to the website at the time of recording, the Zoe program is $354 paid in 6 monthly payments. That's it. Once I get my results and spend a few months eating according to my personalized recommendations, I'll make another video, and that will be part 2. Until then, thanks for watching.